On today's episode of Locked On Canadiens, the smartest man in the KHL has determined that his best chance of winning comes with his best player benched.
And it's not Michel Therrien.
You're Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into episode 1270 of Locked On Canadiens. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day and for subscribing wherever you get your podcast. Doing that supports the show and ensures you don't miss an episode here at Locked On Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are with you every day, your team every day, right here, wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. My name is Ian Boisvert, also known as at Maybe It's Ian. I almost stumbled over that part. And I'm joined, as I always am, by Laura Saba, the active stick. Laura, not a slow news day for the Montreal Canadiens, considering the top prospect, his season is essentially over now. But pretty quiet. It's funny to say quiet other than that.
Quiet other than that. I think we're still basking in the win over the Sens, and that doesn't mean the job is over. We're not celebrating like the job is over. But some truly baffling news out of the KHL, and all season long we've kind of questioned this. And it doesn't necessarily feel like there's an adequate explanation to this. Playing him as the 13th forward, sometimes not playing him very few minutes, all of that, and him scoring despite all of that. I'm trying to figure out why. I still don't have a good understanding of why this is happening.
Yeah, and we'll spend our first segment unpacking that, because I think there's a lot there. Just the relationship between the player and the team, the player and the Canadiens. There's a lot going on. The team and the team, the both of them have met face to face to try to hash things out, which lasted all of 20 minutes, it feels like. Then we'll talk a little bit about the GM meetings. There's no real changes to come, but there were some interesting discussions had, and we might see some other changes over the next little while for the National Hockey League. And then I wanted to circle back on a conversation that we had a little while ago about Montembeault's issue with giving up long goals, because I don't think that I don't think we are giving him the benefit of the doubt that we need to on that. So we'll get to that in our third segment. But let's start with Ivan Demidov. Andrew Zadarnowski was the first one who had this, but essentially Roman Rotenberg said that Ivan Demidov is going to be a scratch for Scott St. Petersburg, and he insinuated that he won't play in the playoffs. He says he wants a heavier style, and Ivan Demidov is currently leading the Scott St. Petersburg in points. So it very much just seems like they're trying to squeeze this dude into potentially staying another year, which it's not going to happen. So I don't know why they're intentionally making themselves worse for an outcome that will not happen, right? Like, that's kind of what it seems like.
Do you know how to make someone want to be around you more? Is be really mean to them and
stifle
their career.
Yeah.
That is honestly, truly like do the opposite of that.
Yeah.
In everything, right? Yeah, you treat an employee badly, they're not going to want to work for you. Treat a partner badly, they're going to leave you. Treat a friend badly, they don't want to be friends with you anymore, right? So treating him poorly appears to be like trying to bully him into doing something when he has an out. He literally, it's not just that he has an out, that's his plan, but he has an out, even if it wasn't his plan. So doing that, I don't think is really getting to the outcome or the destination that you want.
Yeah. There were some thoughts as well that while he might not play, and he probably won't play in the KHL for the rest of the year, he is still under contract through the month of May, and they can send him down to the MHL, which is the league just below the KHL, to play there, which to me, I don't understand the thought process there at all. And it comes on the heels of another story where Hurricanes prospect Alexander Nikishin, defenseman, is being allowed to leave early. They struck a deal together to get out of his contract. Players can buy themselves out of their contracts if they come to an agreement with their team. But funny enough, Alexander Nikishin is their second leading scorer. So now they're going into the playoffs which by most people's who pay attention to that league have thought they're not going to do well in those playoffs, and they're going into it without their first two scorers. At what point, like, I understand that, we want to get him over here as soon as possible. At what point do we have to just say, like, he's got to just sit in it for the rest of the year? It seems like we're already there.
I think so. It feels like the Montreal Canadiens really don't want to put a wrong foot forward. Is that a yeah, I don't know if that's an accurate expression, but you know what I mean. Like they're tiptoeing, right? And even the diplomacy that they tried to engage in was very brief. It feels like they're just trying not to interfere. I know there's some rules, and I know there's ways to get around the rules. I know, Michkov, and you just mentioned, like, there are ways to get out of it. There are agreements you can come to, even though it's technically a rule. It just feels like the Montreal Canadiens are trying very hard not to ruffle any feathers and not to say or do something that could be remotely hostile.
I have a follow-up question to that.
Is the question why?
Why? Why do you care? Like, there's no transfer agreement between the National Hockey League and the KHL. There's no. What is the KHL going to do? Come steal Cole Caulfield to come play for Avant-Garde Omsk? Like, no, that's not happening. I genuinely don't get the diplomacy aspect of this from the Montreal Canadiens. They are not a government. They don't need to be doing this. They are a hockey team who sent a bunch of dudes over there to stroke a guy's ego. Like, that's what that meeting was. They made Roman Rotenberg feel like a big tough guy.
Yeah.
I don't see value in this.
It didn't work.
No, it didn't work. And if the idea is like, okay, well, if we treat them nice, then maybe they'll let future prospects come over earlier. Like, I'm thinking Bogdan Konyushkov. Okay, but if you're not pulling that lever for Ivan Demidov, the guy who you are already next year penciling in on the second line, you're not pulling that lever for Bogdan Konyushkov. You're not
pulling that lever at all.
You're not pulling it for Volokin, the goaltender that's over there. You're just not doing it. You've decided that this is not a path we want to go down.
And I think that there could be a little bit of, misguided efforts at always doing the right thing, or always going by the book, always staying within the lines, decorum, et cetera, et cetera. Like they do, like both Gorton and Hughes do seem like those kinds of people, but at the same time, they're not afraid to be bold. They're not afraid to like really, put themselves out there. It's just, this seems to be a line that neither of them is willing to cross. And to me, I feel like you can never appease bullies, because all they're going to do is they're going to want more. Like, this is exactly what happened when they went over there. They stroked the guy's ego, and the guy is still treating Ivan Demidov like this, right? Now he feels like he can get away with it.
Yeah. And the last question I have on this is, let's imagine that the Canadiens are able to get him over here sooner, like before the end of this season.
Mm-hmm.
Are you signing him and letting him play to burn a year of that entry level deal? Because I don't know that I am.
And I understand why, and you should probably explain why first.
Yeah, I think that the 3 full years of Ivan Demidov under his entry level contract are going to be incredibly valuable. And I don't mean to get people super excited off the bat. Probably some years the Canadiens should be trying to win a Stanley Cup. Yes. Like you go back to the Blackhawks, they won almost all of their cups together while Kane and Taves were on very affordable contracts. If not their they won some of those on their ELCs. Like that to me is more valuable. And it's not that they would, it's not so much that, well, we don't get any value out of it this year. It's just that the third year is now gone, and he might be making big money at that point, when maybe you can add a piece at the deadline that year and make a real run at the Stanley Cup. Like, that's my thought process. Where are you at on this?
I agree with the thought process behind it, but at the same time, like, why would he come over here if you're not going to do that? Right? And the reality is they do this with everybody, right? Like, they did it with Lane Hudson. Like, they allow that person, that free agent coming over from the NCAA or whatever, they allow that person to burn the first year of their deal on a game or 2 games or whatever it is. This is the way they operate, and they're not alone in this. This is what a lot of NHL teams do. So if I'm Ivan Demidov, Am I just looking to get out of Russia? I don't think that that's it, right? Like probably looking to get out of the KHL, yes. Probably looking to come over to the NHL, yes. But why would I do that if this advantage is being given to my teammates who are also arguably at our primes? I'm going to be better than them, and I'm not getting this, right? Like I'm getting the same treatment here that I was in the KHL. Is what it
You want to
will feel
hear?
like.
Can I put a diabolical thought into the universe right before we go to break?
Yes, do that.
They sign him to his entry-level deal before the season's over, and they make sure that deal does not start until next season, and they sign him to a professional tryout with the Laval Rocket, and he goes into the American Hockey League and does legitimate damage on the way through the playoffs. I think that there's probably some rules against that. I've seen prospects come over and they sign their entry-level deal to start the next year, and then they sign a deal to at least start playing in the American Hockey League.
Yeah, they need an AHL deal only, yeah.
Right. That would be incredible. I really want that to happen. There's like a 99.999% chance that's not happening, but it is hilarious to think about. All right. We are going to do what Roman Rotenberg did and leave Ivan Demidov there. And when we come back, we're going to break down a little bit of what happened at the GM's meetings down in Florida. And Laura and I are going to be tasked with fixing the All-Star game once and for all. And we'll get into that in just a minute.
Did you know getting a good night's sleep is the #1 recipe for long-term success in life? I didn't. It took me way longer to realize than I'd like to admit. It was years of tossing and turning. I was always tired. I never felt like I could live up to my potential, but not anymore. Thanks to Bear Mattress. I used their sleep quiz and I matched with the Elite Hybrid. It's perfect for side sleepers like me. Now I wake up energized. I'm getting deeper sleeps and I'm ready to attack the day. No matter how you sleep, Bear Mattress has a match for you with a focus on recovery, cooling, and pressure relief to upgrade your sleep and improve your overall quality of life. Go to bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout for 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
All right, we are back, and it is time to dig into the GM's meetings and figure out what is happening there. As far as GM's meetings go, it was very boring. There was nothing. There was no rule changes suggested. They've determined that the NHL is perfect just as it is, and we do not need to do anything, which is the most NHL outcome they could have come to. But there are some things that are sort of bubbling under the surface for the NHL this season. One of those being the All-Star game. The Four Nations face-off kind of raised the bar for what they want that break to be. And I think they're kind of looking at the 2026 All-Star game that is scheduled to take place with the New York Islanders down at their newer arena in Belmont. And they're trying to figure out how they can make it not suck. Because ultimately most All-Star games are bad. It's not a good product. And everyone goes, it's for the kids. And then I say, kids are allowed to enjoy good things. Like we can give them a good product and not insult them by giving them this watered, dumbed down, just not hockey event. But they want to still hold that event because the Islanders season ticket holders have bought into that event and they're going to be upset if they don't get one. Laura, you get first cracks at trying to fix the All-Star game. What's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Do the same thing as Major League Baseball and make home ice advantage contingent on the winner of the All-Star game.
Ooh.
I really like
that's
that.
Fun.
I always say the NBA All-Star game is awesome, but I think the NBA just overall is much cooler than the NHL as a league. The NHL is like the dork in this equation. We love it. It's my favorite sport, but we have to be honest, right? Like the NHL is not cooler than the NBA. The NBA is just by default cooler. But I think the first thing is I would attach actual tangible stakes, but not stakes that change the entire outcome of your season and whether or not you make the playoffs. But I would attach stakes to it like that, not like a car or whatever. That's fine. I know a lot of the NHLers get really excited about that kind of stuff, and I know a lot of them also don't care, and they're always trying to get out of going. That too, but that's the first thing. The second thing is I would make sure that I bring something. You did the draft. People loved it the first time. They've come to expect it, all of that. But the first time they did it, there was so much hype and drama around it, right?
Yeah.
Like they stretched it out and we were all like, will they, won't they? And then with Phil Kessel and and the meme, and then like the next year was like, oh, we feel sorry for that guy, so he's gonna get a card too. Like I feel like every time you got to switch it up. You can't do the same thing over and over again. That's the other thing. Like you also, like, if you're gonna have anything surrounding the All-Star game, like celebrities or a musical act or whatever, like you have to make sure that it's relevant people, people who like, people, I hate to say it, but people younger than I would like, right?
Right. And
You
you
know
can
what I
do
mean?
that in a way that is not dumb. Like you can do that in a way
Yeah.
that kids will like. They like lots of stuff. I don't know if you know this about kids. They have lots of interests. None of them happen to be the National Hockey League at this point, but that's
Exactly.
their job to figure out.
Right. And like John Hamm is not going to cut it for kids.
Oh my
Right.
God. Yes.
Like,
the celebrities they roll out
yeah.
suck, Laura.
I find him very handsome. John Hamm is an extremely handsome man. I watch a lot of things he acts in. But again, it doesn't move the needle for like the people that you're trying to, like the new fans you're trying to make with the All-Star game. The rest of us watch it out of obligation because we love it. We're going to watch everything. We're going to watch the playoffs. We're going to watch the outdoor games. We're going to watch everything. But like if you're trying to attract new fans with this, like you have to attach some sort of drama, some sort of stakes, and bring in people that are interesting, do things that are interesting, or the skills comps, right? Like when, like, I remember we got so excited about the Vegas ones because they said that they were introducing new things. Turns out they're pre-recorded and not good television. Workshop these in a focus group first. You know what I mean? Like have a bunch of hockey players do this stuff, and whatever seems chaotic, that's the thing you include, not the foregone conclusions or just a bunch of guys just hitting the puck, and then hoping it making it look like golf or whatever it is that they did. I just remember like the one with Nick Suzuki, it looked like golf.
Yeah, and Nick Suzuki won a gift card to our a year-time supply of food from a restaurant he can't even go to in his home city. Like they botched that.
Yes.
I kind of I want to go back to some things that we've done before. One, in the very old days, it used to be the Stanley Cup champion versus the rest of the league. Yeah. Like that's awesome. Really cool Battle of the Titans stuff. It wouldn't go well for the Stanley Cup champion, and that's probably why they don't do it. Or maybe go back because of the international flair that happened this time. Go back to North America versus the world.
Yes.
We did that for a few years. That was pretty cool. I think that would be pretty cool again, especially as the game has grown.
And especially as you're taking it out of whatever the equivalent of the Four Nations is in the future.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I think, there's some options there. All right. The rest of the stuff that happened, no rule changes recommended. They're not extending 3-on-3. They're not changing the playoff format. They were also pointed out that Olympic rosters have to name their first 6 players by June 15th. So this summer we will have 6 players for each country that is being represented in the Olympics. And then they have to have their whole roster by December 31st. The last thing I want to touch on here, though, isn't a rule change. It's not something that came with this, but it is relevant to the game the Montreal Canadiens played on Tuesday, in that Tom Fitzgerald, the general manager of the New Jersey Devils, came out and with an impassioned speech for the use or the mandating of cut-resistant clothing. And we saw it firsthand in that game against Ottawa, where before Josh Anderson scored into the empty net, he took a skate to the back of his Achilles, and it looked like magic that it didn't end his season and put his career in jeopardy. Like it was, you could see he looked down. He was nervous about it. He revealed after the game that was the first game he ever wore cut resistant equipment. If there is ever an ad for it, it's Josh Anderson. That was divine intervention. I don't know what caused him to wear it for the first time in that game against Ottawa, but imagine the vibe around the team and how they feel about this player if he hadn't been wearing it. And the reason Tom Fitzgerald goes really hard on this is that his son had an injury that was very significant and could have been prevented by slash resistant clothing. They need to just smarten up. They need to, and the Players Association needs to stop the players from themselves if they don't want to wear it. tough. Like we cannot risk this happening. It seems at this point as stupid as playing without helmets to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And even that had a lot of resistance, right? And it's just
Yeah.
like, I just remember, and this is horrifying because if you do remember, like Erik Karlsson's face when an injury happened to him that could have been prevented, right? I know we made like so much fun of the forensic analysis of all of that and everything like that. And, you know, I think it was Matt Cook that did it, and it became a whole thing. It became like a civil war between the two cities. I just think that this is something where at some point it is gonna take off, and just remember Erik Karlsson's face. Like, I can never get that out of my mind. I can never, because like the camera was right there. We all saw it. And it was like, it goes around all the time. I did want to say one quick thing about Josh Anderson. Yesterday we brought up like whose idea was it to play him on the penalty kill. Turns out it was Marty's. Marty said it in the post game. It was his idea. He approached Josh Anderson because he had played the penalty kill in Columbus. It's just not what he was brought here to do. And I think just, you know, having that conversation with him, because incredible, just like this whole relationship, this whole like Josh Anderson and Marty thing, I'm loving it this year.
Remember earlier this season when we were talking about how Marty needs another veteran guy behind the bench, and there was those rumors about Gerard Gallant meeting with them at a coffee shop and somewhere in Toronto and blah blah. That seems like ancient history because of the just the way that Marty has operated this year. He's never wavered from what he wants to do with this team. He's never wavered in his confidence in himself or in the guys that he coaches. And I think a lot of people are eating a lot of crow when it comes to Marty as of late. He's been phenomenal for this team.
I remember when every episode we dropped, every single episode, there would be at least one or two fire Marty comments, or Marty isn't good enough to do this comments.
Yeah.
And listen, we had some questions with him, but we didn't think that they were ever going to fire him. We had some questions about his decisions, and turns out he makes a lot of good ones. So, you know, what are we going to say?
Yep. The dude's a winner. All right. We'll leave the GM meetings there. When we come back, we're going to talk about Sam Montembeault and his issue dealing with the shot from distance. And maybe that's just how you beat good goalies now. And we'll get into that in just a minute. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets at the end of the tournament. I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on, and if you miss opening tip-off, get in on some live bets as you watch the action unfold. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action all tournament long.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Okay, we are back. And we're going to talk about Sam Montembeault again. This is going to seem a little bit like a repeat performance from us, talking about how he gives up goals from distance, but with a different spin on it. Because I think the way that we looked at this before is he gives up a lot from distance. That's bad. We can't have that happen. But you know, when you look at the numbers, so Natural Stat Trick has this stat, average goal distance. So it's the average distance of all the goals that were scored from the location they were shot from. Out of when you adjust it so that the minimum time on ice is, you know, it levels out to the 232 goalies. That's all the starters. Montembeault is sixth. A while ago, he was ninth. Now he's sixth. He's moved up. And I think the Travis Hamonic goal did not help his case in that respect. But the goalies in front of him from 1 through 5 are Jacob Markstrom, Andre Vasilevsky, Jordan Binnington, Darcy Kemper, Connor Hellebuyck. Those aren't nobodies. And the guy that's just slightly worse than Montembeault is going to win the Vezina this year and could win the Hart Trophy. He could pull a full Carey Price and win both of those awards.
Yeah.
Is this just how you beat goalies now? Is just by getting traffic in front and throwing the puck on net?
I think so. Because like goaltending too has gotten so intricate over the last, I would say, 25, 30 years. It like the style has changed. Yes, new styles were introduced, but now everything is so like it's so closely monitored. Like your coaches will do so much micro coaching with you with like every little move, every little decision you make, right? And I know Brad Medov is a goalie expert. We are going to have him back on very, very soon. We're going to be talking. We're going to be talking to him. We also
Does
have
he know that?
no.
Well,
We
there
talked
you go,
about it. We
Brent.
just never told him.
Your people
You
will
and
call
I
our people.
decided, but we just never talked to him. We never talked to him about it. We decided. But anyways, and we've got a couple of friends all around, like knowing a lot about goaltending. And I think that like because it's become just like every little part of it is a skill or a science. Like we were talking about how like at a distance like you're not getting those shots really anymore because now everybody's just getting in your face, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's just something that people don't really maybe work on or maybe don't really expect and don't really think about because they're really focused on like making that glove save, not sale.
Yeah.
That glove save from like, I don't know, like a superstar on an opposing team that's like 10 feet away from you.
Yeah. Look, I think all of that's true, right? I think that when you talk about scoring goals in the playoffs, it's get traffic to the net, get the puck to the net, go to work. Right? That's how you score in the playoffs is what everybody says all the time. The thing is it's visually a bad product, right? It's visually for the team being scored on. You took a wrist shot from just inside the blue line and it went in the net. Like that, it looks awful.
Because
It's
it looks so
deflating when
low
it
effort.
happens.
It looks
Yeah.
so low effort from the opposing team, and any good goaltender should be high effort. So it's a mismatched image.
Yeah. I think the team around him could do a better job clearing the traffic in front of the net. And maybe, if they know they're not going to block it, get out of the way. Because he is screened on a lot of them, right? Like it's not like he's just it's a wrist shot from center ice and nobody's in front of him. The Hamonic one was bad. The Hamonic one is the outlier of this. That one just can't go in. It just can't. It wasn't even going on net, and it hit his pad and directed into the net. Like it's all kinds of terror bad. Like it just shouldn't happen. But I do think the team can help him. Every team could afford to clear the front of their net a little bit better. I think that's where maybe Elaine Hudson is going to struggle because he's just smaller, right? But you have a guy on his pair in Jaden Struble who is very not. He might be the strongest player on this hockey team. So they could get creative with their defensive pairings like that in order to clear the net a little bit better and make sure Sam can see it. Because most of the time, if Sam can see it, he's going to stop it. He's a very competent and very good goaltender. Like I didn't want this to come off as like Sam is a bad goaltender, but the goals from distance are going in. Some of them don't look great, but I do think traffic, as Bren pointed out to me on in the comments, the traffic is a thing. And it's very clear that good goalies struggle with this because if they can't see it, that there's not much they can really do about it.
I think that's totally fair. It's just that, the optics of it are really bad. And especially I think in games like yesterday's, like as fans, we just have so much more emotion attached to that goal going in. If this had happened in October, we would just be laughing. Today, if they lost that game, we would not be laughing.
No, and every game after this one, it gets less funny every time because of how important this is, right?
Yes.
We also have to keep in mind the standard has changed. The standard has changed for everybody. Slav had a just okay game against Ottawa for most of it, and most of the game we were all like, he's invisible out there, can't even see him. He's got the yips, and like he was fine. He had a fine game, by the end of it. But yeah, I think that the standard has changed, and that doesn't help his case, Montembeault's case, when the goal goes in from the blue line.
Yeah, the standard is not just due to expectations. It is also due to because every single person has gotten better. Like I want to say, like, there's nobody on this team other than David Savard, only because he's aging. He's just aging. It's like that's the thing. Every other person has gotten better this season.
Yeah. And their backup goaltender situation is much better than it was last year.
Yeah,
and at the beginning of this season.
Exactly. And also, if you look at Patrick Laine, he's better now than he was on Columbus.
Yeah, it's true.
Even without being able to fully skate properly.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him next season if he's at full speed. That's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
We see him do all these like toe drag dekes when he's not even moving and it still works. It makes me laugh every time. The game just looks like it's in slow motion when he does that. Anyway, all right, let's hit our trivia and then head out of here.
Yes.
Yesterday's question was in honor of Christian Dvorak's 4-point night, which by the way, I think somebody took it that we were really like using that as an opportunity to make fun of Christian Dvorak. We weren't. It's just not something that we like you should ever expect from Christian Dvorak.
Also, we were using it as an opportunity to make fun of the Ottawa Senators. Like,
correct. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, the question yesterday was in honor of Christian Dvorak's 4-point game. It was his first 4-point game. I asked when his last 3-point game was. And the answer to this one was he had a hat trick against the St. Louis Blues back on October 29th, 2022, as a member of the Montreal Canadiens. Super Rain and Good Sport had that one. I do want to point out he has several 3-point games. One of them with Arizona, the rest with Montreal. None of them were on home ice. He was doing it on the road the entire time. So he finally got to feel that love on Tuesday by filling the Senators' net, which if you're going to do it, Christian, that's the way to do it. All right, today's question in honor of Montreal playing the New York Islanders tonight is a follow the player path. We go from Washington to Montreal to Washington again, the Islanders and the Florida Panthers. Washington, Montreal again, or Montreal once. Washington again, Islanders, Panthers. If you have the answer, put it in the comments. Send it to us via email. We are happy to shout you out to show the world how smart you guys are. And that's going to do it for us today on this episode of Locked On Canadiens. Thanks so much for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check on the Locked On NHL podcast, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter, local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Mailbag. Send in your questions. We're doing the mailbag tomorrow after the Islanders game. So send in your questions. We'll get to them on the show. We really enjoy that. It's a time for you guys to show us how smart you are in a way that the ways that you think about the game. We really enjoy getting those questions from you guys. You can follow the show just about anywhere we post things at Locked On Canadiens. You can follow me at Maybe It's Ian. You can follow Laura at The Actor Stick. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.